What's up, everyone, and welcome to Variant the Podcast. We have Tim and myself as always, but as you can see right in the middle, we have a very special guest, Jeff, the Golden Age Guru.
The beautiful, the brave, the bold.
He's been on the channel before. You've seen him with Comic Tom doing the history of the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age. Copper is coming up. There we go. That's right. All that good stuff. We actually just shot a podcast with him on a collection he acquired, a Provenance collection, a very meaty, great Golden Age collection that we're going to be posting after this, and it's going to be tons of fun. Tons of fun.
Yeah, I feel like long form content and a good story, not to toot my own horn, but it's really interesting.
It is a great, great story. So be watching out for that next week.
Yes.
So it's going to be it's not just a great story. There's a lot to it. And you guys are actually going to get to see some of the comics from the collection that Jeff discovered and acquired. So it's very cool. So be on the lookout for that next week.
He brought them in-house. But as for today, we got to talk about the big news that's going on in the MCU, Marvel Studios. There's fires, guys. There's fires behind the scenes, Variety, one of the most, legit, reputable sites on the internet for this stuff. Most of the time, they're correct in the rumors. They usually do not post unless it comes from a really, really good source. I mean, everyone knows Variety. It's a very reputable source. Anyway.
Unless it's just pure propaganda.
Pure propaganda.
And then they're not above it. You know what I mean?
But anyway, they have a headline that was going viral that was this, states as follows: Crisis at Marvel, Jonathan Majors backup plans, the Marvels reshoots, reviving original Avengers, and more issues revealed. So it looks like me and Tim have been talking about this forever.
This
is
the least surprising news of all time.
Yeah. So let's just kind of overview what this article is kind of like breaking down. It's a lot of stuff we've already talked about. I'm sure, Jeff, you've already heard. So they got the whole Jonathan Majors things going on right now, right? So he's in trial. Now, it doesn't matter where you fall, if you think he's guilty, if you think he's innocent, doesn't matter. It's something they're dealing with, and it's not great for Disney as a whole to have, that going on for one of the guy who's supposed to be the face of the villains going on.
He is the Thanos.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the
this
Thanos
new arc. Yeah,
and he's going to trial. So that's not great. So,
and it did not help because they had a motion to dismiss the entire case in for this guy. Yeah, and the judge denied it. So when that happened, that probably really sent Marvel in just over the edge.
Now, the thing that's crazy about this specifically, because I guess we can go through it in order, as far as that goes, there's higher ups at Marvel Studios and Disney who is saying, literally use an F word, saying Kang is, try to keep it a little family friendly here, is effed, right? Kang is screwed, if you will. So much so, Feige and all the heads are looking to replace him with Doom, potentially Dr. Doom.
I guess it's a good thing for them that they killed him in Ant-Man. You know what I'm saying?
To that point in this article, one of the reasons why they're saying they're screwed is because the way season 2 of Loki ends is not conducive to what they potentially might have to change, because they haven't been able to do rewrites or shoots because of the strikes. So they couldn't even rewrite and fix stuff or reshoot stuff because everyone's been on strike. So now they're just kind of like this producer said, they're kind of effed. So, because Loki's already out, they couldn't rewrite it. Right. They couldn't reshoot it. Yep. They just had to release it. So now he's basically making it seem the way it ends is going to be setting up Kang in a big way. And now they're screwed going forward, depending on what happens with Majors in the trial.
And some of this is there's some things that are going on with Marvel that you can look at and you can be like, that's self-inflicted.
100%. 100%. The fact that this is the thing that they're most concerned about is concerning to me.
Yeah. Because most of the problems are story related.
This is your red flag. Don't get me wrong. This is not great at all. But for the love of God, how many other things have people complained about? And come on, what do you want me to say to this thing?
It's weird too.
Without question.
You're still not listening to your fans. You're listening to public perception.
Yep.
And that is the biggest problem with you, Disney.
It's funny too, because I feel like they're kind of doing the DC thing too. Because if you read this article, all you gotta do is search Variety MCU crisis, right? And it's everywhere. It'll pop up. If you read the article, they're also saying that after Kang's outing in Quantumania, they got nervous. Remember how the DCU, one of their biggest problems was if the audience in general didn't like BVS or something. Be like, oh no, we'll try this. Oh no, we'll try that, and they didn't just stick to the path. That scene, this article's alluding that that's kind of how they're working behind the scenes. They're really nervous that Kang wasn't a big hit in Quantumania, so they're kind of rethinking. So that plus the trial with Majors, they're kind of like, oh no, he wasn't really accepted, or like people didn't like him that much in Quantumania. The movie didn't do that good. He's going to trial. Doctor Doom, abort. Like it seems like abort. It seems like that's what they're doing behind the scenes.
For me, like this is weird, right? Because Jonathan Majors is saving these shows, yet somehow is also
screwing them
at the same time. So it's the weirdest thing. You're like,
it's like a double-edged sword.
Save and screw. You're just like, oh my God.
And that's kind of what I was getting at, is like you have most of the problems that they have are self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Now, what's going on with Jonathan Majors and their Kang situation now, that's not their doing.
No.
So they're just damned if you do, damned if you don't at this point.
But they're also panicking because of the Quantumania, though, too. So that would have happened either way without Jonathan Majors' accusations or not.
Yeah.
So that's...
And in a way, I think part of the way that they screwed themselves here is you were going to go the route of Secret Wars, right? But you put all your eggs in the Kang basket when it should have been Kang and Doom. Because if they had done both, then now you could have just easily pivoted to Doom.
Or Galactus, something like that, like a bigger threat.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
just to put all your eggs again in one basket when this is a real life person, you're talking about a 10-year commitment potentially.
I mean, like, what do you do? Just never put it in anybody? Like, you just never truly commit? Like, I appreciate the commitment.
Sure.
I mean, again, he's going to trial. Like, he very well could be just innocent and fine.
Yeah.
And, like, we're still going to condemn and, like, just say, forget you because you were entangled in this at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, is that at all the way we should all be behaving, or as...
For sure.
As fans at all? I mean, I don't even understand. Like, that's why we go to trial. That's why we have a case.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
Right. So, like...
And we've been saying that here, like, ad nauseum. Like, let's wait and see how this all turns out.
I mean, if he's guilty, then great. Nail him.
Yep.
If he's innocent, then great. He's innocent. He did it. He went through the court system.
The thing that's interesting to me is I 100% agree with you, but it also seems like it's just that is adding fuel to the fire. Because again, if you read this, they're scared on his performance in Quantumania as well. So I think even without his accusations, they still would be a little hesitant because of how that movie. I
don't think that's fair at all.
Yeah.
Did that fall flat because of him? You felt that Quantumania fell flat because of
not
Jonathan?
me.
Okay, this is not my words. I want to make it very. This is not what I'm saying. This is what the article is alluding to.
See, I don't think, and I think most fans would say the exact opposite of that.
Yeah,
that he was the best part of that movie, and the writing of the film is what is the only bad part of Kang. Because at the end, where he gets killed by the ants that everybody was complaining about, that's, I think, and that's writing. That's not him. That's not Jonathan Majors' performance.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he looked fine being carried off. He performed that.
I'm not dead.
What's crazy to me is I think what Kang's problem is, because I've liked what Majors has done. It's no Thanos yet, but I think this isn't even my thought. Gem Mint actually pointed out. Steven from Gem Mint made a very good point. I'm like, you know what? I feel like for Kang, they've been putting it too much on Jonathan Majors Kang. Majors Kang. Like, it's Jonathan Majors Kang.
Yeah.
Where with Thanos, it wasn't even Josh Brolin. Like, originally he was playing Thanos. It was Thanos, the character, is the threat, not Josh Brolin is playing Thanos. So it's very much with Kang, they're pushing the celebrity more so than the character. And I think that's a big problem too.
That is exactly what I meant when I said they put all their eggs in the Kang basket, who was a person.
Yeah.
Because with Thanos, it was CGI. They could have replaced that voice and found somebody that was comparable like that.
Well, originally, it was
a different voice.
Yeah, it was prosthetic makeup and everything. It wasn't even CGI.
Yeah. So they were okay there. And even if the actor did fall off and there was some kind of an issue, they had some sort of contract dispute, whatever it was, they still could have kept going.
Right.
With Kang, it was an actual person. It's an actor. And so you're going to replace him. That's far more visible, far more noticeable, and much more difficult to do. But you have leveraged your entire franchise now on one guy, because all the heroes are being shaped around this central villain. I mean, that's the way it was in the first one, even though you had the solo films and all that kind of stuff too. But like, it feels for me anyway, like this phase 4 and onward, they built it much more around a villain than any particular hero. I don't know if you guys think that too.
No, I get what you're saying. I never really thought about it in that way, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
On literally, thousands of Jonathan Majors, you're not even dealing with
Right, exactly.
So like for this to happen, it happened to like 1,000 versions of him that we all get to see over and over again. So it's just interesting on that. But that's a great point. I never thought about it that way. But like for the delays, like for like the whole rewrites, like what's the worst that could happen? You just delay it. You guys have been delaying movies
endlessly.
year after year.
Yeah.
Like if you need more time, you're gonna take it. Like and then like if you make him bigger and still bad, like sooner. Okay, so you build him up sooner, get rid of him sooner. But the bigger you make him, when Doom comes in and just crushes him, that just automatically puts Doom on a higher level tier almost immediately.
Yeah.
So the faster you can build him up, and then if you want to get rid of him with Doom, then you kind of almost level up Doom pretty quickly.
I will say the thing they could pivot if forced to, or they want to, considering all the variants of Kang. Someone else could clearly play him because all the variants. Like just look at freaking Sylvie, who's a variant of Loki. She's a Loki, but like she looks. I mean, she's a woman, and obviously she looks nothing like Loki Prime, if you will, 616 Loki or whatever. So they could easily pivot and have like someone else play Kang, a variant of him, and then have like you said a Doom or someone else, a bigger threat, kill him, and then go that. I just think it is a little unfair because Quantumania, going back to what we were just saying, that they would even be judging it because Kang was the best part of that film.
Oh yeah,
sure, the way he died was lame, but like he was still the best part. But the biggest thing, clearly, the article saying it, we're saying it is the trial stuff, and that's just very unfortunate considering we don't even know if he's innocent or guilty yet. So it's like, how are you even, it's just one of those things.
And it's and again, like going back to what we were saying originally and what you were like really emphasizing, like this is a two-edged sword. This is not just one issue. Like the Jonathan King or the Jonathan Majors Kang issue is one thing. The biggest part of Marvel's problem is their storytelling. That's the biggest part of their problem. And they're not they haven't been listening to fans. They've been it's only now that they're having flop after flop after flop, not just on the big screen, but on the small screen. They're now seeing Disney as a whole, by the way, not just Marvel. This is a Disney-wide problem. Their Star Wars Lucasfilm projects, their Disney animated films are doing the same thing. This seems to be a full-blown Disney fan rejection, at least to a certain degree, of their projects. Why? Because they're just doing this cookie cutter. They're churning out the same stuff, even though people are saying, we don't like this so much. And they're just ignoring it. And this has been going on for how many years now? And now it's all kind of coming back. It's like the tidal wave of a response, which is people not opening their wallet, is coming back, and they're panicked. They don't know what to do. And it's why I've said to you so many times on the show here, I don't think that there is going to be any significant change with any of the major Disney properties until there is a huge change of the guard on the executive level at Disney.
Although,
because they're the ones, because they brought this is the other problem, is again, whether you agree or disagree, they've brought a lot of ideology to the table. And there's a lot of people, whether you agree or disagree, if you're on this side, you agree. If you're on this side, you disagree. And you're just polarizing your audience, at least half of it, no matter which way you go.
Well,
it's why you can't do that.
That's what I find so interesting about here. Because as we all know, anyone with any common sense knows a business is a business because you want profit. You're in it for the money, or else you wouldn't be a business. It's literally basically the definition. You're in it to make money, right? So they're losing money left and right. Right now, the Marvels is the worst pre-sales in 4+ years since the pandemic for any MCU film. Like they're projecting this movie is gonna potentially flop. Like it's not even gonna make its money back as of now. But the crazy thing is, because of that, they're hurting so bad. The article says they're pivoting to where they're looking to bring back the original OG Avengers roster, bringing back to life, or variants of Robert Downey Iron Man, Scarlett Johansson, freaking Mark Ruffalo, like the OG Avengers, bringing them back sooner than later. Because yes, they were supposed to have cameos and reappear in Secret Wars, but they're kind of speeding that up almost to like, you like these guys, right? Remember, this is what made us so successful. They're back. And it's like, oh.
I think that's a bad move.
So now, because you're hurting, because you were trying all this new stuff for the last 3 years, you're realizing, oh, you want more of the legacy characters and we need money. So we'll give you that. Like,
that's not all we want.
Right?
That's exactly right.
I know. That's their thought process. That's their Band-Aid fix.
It just frustrates me because I just don't understand what goes on in that room, in that boardroom. Like, I don't know if anybody truly understands on the periphery what is happening there. Like, everyone else feels like they can see the writing on the wall.
Right.
And what's, like, for the most part wrong and why it's not working. But, like, we don't get the changes. And to say that we're just going to bring back the faces that made this successful is just, unless that's a milestone, like, this is going to be our change now.
Yep. Which
it won't be.
No.
Okay. No. It's just either you're either gonna hurt the everlasting image we already have of them,
right?
Or you're just gonna put lipstick on this freaking sow pig you got going on. You know, it's just
it's a quick fix for sure. It's to get butts in the seats because it's a reunion. It'll probably be like, they're back, and it could be successful because we're like, we want to see the band back together again. But then what after that?
Yeah.
Then what?
I would go to what happened in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi film. I would point to that as an example of what we would likely see and why most fans would probably cringe at the thought at this group of creators and executives bringing back the OG Avengers. Because what we've been seeing across the board in all these properties and what they've been doing and how they've been treating them over the last however many years now, since the end of the Infinity Saga, particularly, I would say, I would point to those two films as an example of what people probably think they're going to get, which is a total abuse of the original characters that you loved, right? And that has nothing to do with what made you love them in the first place, so that they can leverage those characters to continue telling a crap story that nobody wants. And that is real. And I say this with a lot of passion because I think I told you I was going to do it. I started rewatching the Star Wars trilogy, the 7, 8, 9. I watched The Force Awakens first.
The sequel trilogy.
The recent one.
Yeah, the sequel.
Yeah. 7, 8, 9. And I started with Force Awakens, which is the one that I liked, which is the one that I was like, it was still fun, et cetera, et cetera. And I started watching that, and then I got into, but by the end of just The Force Awakens, I was more annoyed after all these years of going back and rewatching it. I was more annoyed about even that movie than I was before. Because again, I have this 30,000 foot view of what they actually did with these characters. Yeah. Right. So like who Leia was, who Luke was, what they did with Han Solo in that film. Right. And again, now I'm coupling it with all these other properties and other things that they're doing with, things that we actually really love, grew up on, that are meaningful to a lot of people as far as like our pop culture nostalgia, but also, just general storytelling. And it's like, no, man, no, if they try to do that with these Avengers and these Marvel characters, we're just going to get another version of that where people just come away. And as a result, we're so far down the road now. And I think this is Marvel and Disney's biggest concern. This should be their biggest concern, is people have now gone from being angry and to where you're still showing you care to total apathy, it seems, where people are just like, for instance, perfect example is the polls we've been putting up for like Loki.
Oh yeah.
And we've been putting up polls saying, hey, what do you think of Loki? Are you liking it? And it's yes, no, not watching it. I'm not watching it was the third option. The vast majority of people aren't even watching the show.
It's true. Like 50% of the people aren't even
They're
watching
not even
Loki.
watching. They're like, we don't care.
And like 25,000 people voted or something like that.
Yeah, it was thousands. Almost 30,000 people voted.
Yeah, there you go.
And for the Marvels, same thing, same sort. How are you going to watch the Marvels was the question. It was in theaters. When it comes to streaming, not going to watch it. Over 80% was either not going to watch it or I'm going to wait for streaming.
Which just proves those.
And the majority was, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
It wasn't streaming. So it tells you like people they've moved past anger about what's happening to, I just don't care anymore. That's a much bigger problem for a brand and a franchise than people being mad at you.
That's interesting though, because we're doing that, with our audience, which was around 30,000 people that took that poll. So, but it just proves the point that what the websites are reporting as far as pre-sales going are accurate.
Yeah.
Because they're saying it's the worst pre-sale. So doing a poll with our audience alone is like, oh, that's 100%
That's
true
like
then.
the perfect
It
focus
just,
group.
It just confirms.
Because it's right in their wheelhouse.
So this movie, we talked about this a few weeks ago. We were like, this movie can go either way because it's been.
I really wasn't sure.
It's been very volatile, but now we know. We're like, it could probably still do good, maybe, but it could probably also tank. It's almost definitive now that it's going to tank. Like that's the way it's going to go.
And I was giving it a ton of benefit of the doubt because, it has no real competition at the box office right now because there's nothing coming out. And, Barbie just did awesome.
Yeah.
So it's like, are the ladies really going to come out in force? Because the demographics for these movies still tend to be largely male, just generally speaking. It's like, are you going to see a more, a heavier female audience? Because they leveraged that heavily with the first Captain Marvel film.
Right.
So it's like, are you going to see that? And that'll give it a nice push. But it's based on what we've seen so far, the answer is no.
How much was it to make the movie?
We had
over 400 million.
400 all in. Yeah.
So they have to now. Again, that's including marketing. The actual budget was closing in on 300 million.
Yeah.
So once you add the marketing on there and all this stuff,
but as far as money
you're
out,
almost at you're at or almost just over 400 million. So you've got to clear almost $500 million at the box office just to break even.
That's crazy. And I think it's going to be a flop. I think it's probably going to land at around 300 million and change
worldwide.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to break it.
I do too. At this point, I think, and just also, and I would base that a lot on just the feedback and the vibe I've been getting when we put stuff out. Like, hey, what are you guys feeling about this? I would be shocked
but again,
if
even,
they don't lose a couple $100 million.
Even pre-sales, because you've actually pointed this out all the times, because when we try to see the movies opening night, because we talk about here on the podcast stuff, and Tim will usually be the one that wrangles the tickets. And he'll always tell me, he's like, dude, like for The Flash or whatever movie it is like, we know we can base on pre-sales, like seats available just in our area, if the movie's going to do good or not. That's just here in Dallas. And every single time, if the seats are packed or it's hard to get tickets, the movie does really well.
Yep.
If it's something like The Flash or Blue Beetle, where it's like, there's so many seats available, the movie flops.
Yep.
And that's just on a local scale, but it clearly translates worldwide because, again, it always coincides with the movie succeeding or not, just based on how the seats are in just our city. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I'm not super excited to see it. I will watch it.
Like, are you going to watch it opening weekend?
Opening weekend?
Yeah.
I'll watch it opening weekend as much as I'll watch it any other weekend. Right. Like, if I'm just happen to be available, I'll watch it. Am I going to make it a thing? No.
I guess the point I'm saying is like something like Captain America Winter Soldier. You were probably like, I got to see that opening weekend, right?
Yeah, I was excited for it.
This, you're not like, I got to see this right away.
No.
Okay.
No. But I will watch in a theater because I love going to the theater.
Same here. I'm probably going to see it anyway. Plus, that's what we do. We got to talk about it and stuff like that. Yeah. But without that, I'd probably see it in the theater either way, just because I'm a comic book fan.
Sure.
But I'm not, clamoring to see this. Like, I got to see it the first week. Spoilers. It's like, yeah, I'll see it.
Am I worried what I'm going to see too? A little bit. I'm pretty sure I'm worried. I usually like to be a little bit, not skeptical, but like, I want to be positive when I'm going into the movie for the most part, but I don't want to be overly excited because there is just consistently been let down. So I keep my expectations low now. And if you can't meet my low expectations,
no doubt, like,
man, you're not a good movie.
and I'll tell you right now, just pulling it up and looking at it, like just here's Friday night. This is opening weekend. Friday night, in a main theater, one of the local nearby. There's maybe 20 tickets sold. That's Friday night. Week and a half. Something
I'm very curious to see that because they were projecting 75 to 80 something million opening weekend. Let's see.
I don't even think it's going to hit that. Honestly,
that was that's what those the original projections.
Oh yeah, no.
Now they're like
every movie. I actually just read an article. They were talking about how every Marvel and DC movie has fallen way short, other than Guardians of the Galaxy. That was the only.
That means Aquaman, which is in December, is probably gonna tank.
Oh, think so? I think Aquaman 2 is gonna be good.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hopeful.
I'm just curious about what fans' response will be.
Yeah.
because they have just shied away from anything associated with the DCEU like the plague.
Because Blue Beetle is Blue Beetle, not a fantastic movie, but definitely a good movie.
Yeah.
Did horrible at the box office.
I mean, the last great DCEU movie that did well in the box office was probably Aquaman, right?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's
I believe
crazy.
so.
Because that was over $1 billion
When you
movie.
think about it, so I can't imagine like people aren't going to want to just come see Aquaman, Jason Momoa,
Christmas week.
Black Manta
Yeah.
is one of the best from comic to book.
He's a good villain, but remember, he's got Amber Heard is attached to this film, and they're trying to get rid of her as much as they can. But people still have like Ezra. What hurt the Flash was the Ezra Miller thing. So it's like that. It has this looming shadow over it that is Amber Heard pooping on Johnny Depp's bed. You know?
Well, yeah, I know.
You had to go to that. That's cool.
Well, he didn't say Amber Turd at least. At least he didn't say that.
Man.
But like, yeah, I get it. I don't want to necessarily see like more of that from her, but I think enough of the rest of the movie outweighs her. I heard she's not in it that much. Could be wrong.
I heard that they did some reshoots and they cut as much of her role out as possible.
And they could be lying.
Yeah.
We
Who
could
knows
watch
if
it and
that's
be
true.
like, oh, okay, they're having a baby. They're like, great. But who knows?
I do know that the biggest thing was they were saying that when they did the test screenings that people walked out.
That's what I'm
They were
saying.
like,
Like,
They
it's
hated it.
yeah.
So they were
Hated it,
and they were.
It's in a lot of trouble.
They did reshoots.
Also, you haven't heard
and they
any of
were-
those rumors. That's why I'm kind of saying that because like
Yeah.
people are saying like test screenings, like it's
It
not
was
like it's a
bad.
wreck.
Yeah.
It's like it's not good. So that's why I'm saying it's probably not going to do well, especially with all the quote unquote superhero fatigue going on. Whether you want to believe that's a thing or not, whatever you want to call it, they're kind of the box office is definitely declining for superhero movies. You put whatever label on that you want,
And
but it's happening.
And as someone who loves storytelling and filmmaking, I already am kind of in the camp of I don't like test screenings to begin with. When you have a company and a studio that feels like they have to do test screenings for their films, and then you go back and you make changes to the movie based on those test screenings, that does not show good confidence in
Doesn't.
your storytellers, in your directors, in your writers.
No.
It never seems to paint a good picture for the actual film itself.
Yeah, it's like you're trusting these people who
Yeah.
are in here to view it, opposed to you professionals who made this movie.
Yeah.
Like for
Like,
instance, like
what?
Scorsese would never let one of his films go to test screening.
That's true.
Never. He would be like, "What? You're not gonna test screen my movie? My movie's my movie."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's
I'm not
my
gonna
movie.
test screen Spielberg's film. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you hear that, like, "Oh, well, you're doing test screenings and people hated it, and we're going back to the drawing board, see if we can do dump another 50 mils, see if we can get some reshoots to fix it." It's like, oh, this is gonna be a train wreck.
I guess the big takeaway here, though, is that Marvel is kind of Marvel Studios, to be exact, the MCU is kind of in disarray right now. And like, it seems like we're all probably like, no, but do we think their pivot is going to work with this whole like, all right, because you have all the things going on. You have the VFX strike that's going on with them. You got the major stuff going on with them. You got the Marvels looking not to do well for them. But then you got the thing of them trying to pivot with bringing the OG Avengers back. Do you think they're going to do that in a good way, or is it going to be like Tim was saying earlier, where it's going to be the Star Wars effect, where it's like, here's Han dead. Here's like Luke. He's not the Luke you like. They're just basically their faces are there just to put butts in the seats, but it's not really going to mean anything.
If they
Like,
can even get them back in the first
Even get
place.
him in this. It's kind of, it's just because it is true. Robert Downey Jr. might come back, but he's not going to play Iron Man for another 10 years.
Yeah.
Same thing with Scarlett. Same thing with even Mark Ruffalo. These guys are not going to be they're not going to play him until they're like 80 years old.
No.
They might come back every once in a while for a quick cameo, but they're not going to do that 10-year run again. So the MCU does have to establish a new lineup. It's just, why didn't they go with the obvious like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, given Black Panther was going to be a big one? That's not their fault, clearly. But like they could have still pivoted to something better. I feel like they were so interested in just being like, new faces, look how different this show is from that. This is a comedy, this is more of a romance, this is a kid show, than just cohesive storytelling, that it just got away. And it was just too much for even Feige to handle because there was so much going on with the branch of Disney Plus and the 3 movies coming out every year that it was impossible for any like producer, no matter how good you are, to just keep an eye on it's like having, like those people have like freaking 20 kids, 19 and counting or whatever. It's like, sure, awesome. There's no way you're watching and raising all 19 of those kids. It's impossible. It's too much. It's too much. And it's like, they just did they were like, it's successful, more, when they should have just focused on quality over quantity. And now it's like, now what are you going to do, guys?
Well, it was also them poisoning the well that they were drinking from. Like, why would you, like, they destroyed the Hulk we all loved.
Yep. Oh, don't even get me
Like,
started on that.
That to me was like,
that's like a sensitive topic for me.
Oh, okay.
Jeff.
Oh, God.
That was
All right.
literally for me one of the biggest turning points and eye-opening things of
man.
like, why did you do that? And then you started to affect Thor too, and you started to poison these
You're hitting my nerve.
characters.
Yeah. You're like,
poking a war wound.
But you were going in a great direction. Like, why were you hurting? And there was like no passing of the torch properly. When you watch anime, okay, they pass the torch. Goku will beat the heck out of Gohan no matter what, no matter how Gohan gets or whatever. Okay, Goku will still crush it.
Yeah.
Okay, Naruto will still take out, anybody. So like these legendary characters, as they got older or whatever, were still massive ass kickers and could still rep. Okay, here
You mean they
it's
didn't
like,
escape and become a hermit on a desert, like
No,
a deserted island,
exactly.
and start drinking milk from a alien's like boob or whatever?
No.
or character.
No,
No, they didn't forget their history. They didn't forget their lineage. They are
Yeah.
still who they were, and they didn't like reverse into some form of themselves or a shell. And that's what they like to do with our characters. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, just stay the course.
Become just
To
pure
be fair, the whole Hulk,
comedic relief.
the Hulk and Thor thing really get me because that happened before even Endgame.
Yeah.
That was starting to transition towards like the last, quarter or whatever of the first 10 years. And that was even more perplexing because I'm like, what are you doing?
And
What are you doing?
I feel somewhat vindicated at this point because I was in a minority that was saying this is a red flag. When Thor Ragnarok came out, everybody loved it. The vast majority of people were, oh, it's so different, it's so this. And I was like, this is a red flag for me. Like,
a lot of people
for
still
them
like it, though.
to do this with the Hulk and the direction it feels like they might be going with Thor. And then in Endgame, we got Fat Thor, which, he had its thing, but it was just over the top. It was over the top, but it also signaled like, hey, there's a tone shift here.
Did you hear that Taika is out for the next
Yeah.
Thor? That should tell you too, because everyone rejected Love and Thunder so much that they're like, oh, we can't go in this direction or give him that much creative freedom. So, okay, you're out. Who's gonna do the next Thor?
That's why I was worried when they said that they were going to give him a Star Wars movie. I was like, they've learned nothing.
Have you learned
They've
nothing?
learned nothing. And don't get me wrong, Taika is a very, very great storyteller and filmmaker. Very creative guy, very capable and competent storyteller. However, he has a very specific genre, tone.
Yeah.
He has a very specific
doesn't fit Thor.
style.
Yeah.
And you have to know, okay, does this filmmaker's natural, organic tone and style fit this genre? And if it doesn't, and they're a fan and they just want to do one, can they work and collaborate with producers that will keep them inside of the proper, tone and cohesiveness to where you can wrangle that? Can that be done? And with Taika, I think you can. And I think Jon Favreau showed that was it Mandalorian season 1?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was. And what did he do? Episode? Taika.
Taika. I believe he did one episode in season 1. Yes.
Did he do one in season 2?
I don't recall.
I don't recall either. But for sure, season 1. And he did a great job.
Yeah.
Why? Because Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni were right there going, here and no further, Taika. Right? This is our box. This is where we live. We're not going to have the Mandalorian break out in some musical number at some random given point. You know what I'm saying?
Or have Gore the God Butcher not gore or butcher pretty much anyone.
So like when you're asking the question, like, do we think like this is going to go this direction or that? Like my immediate question would be, has anyone gotten fired? Has anyone been let go? Has there anyone been parting of ways for creative differences? Has any of that happened? Because if that doesn't happen at high levels, I think at executive level and on the creative, like some of the directors that they have on board and things like that, if there's no change and shifts, I think we're just going to continue to get some version of what we've been getting with just some extra sprinkle to try and be like, no, guys, remember why you love us?
What do you think,
That's
Jeff?
not gonna work.
Do you agree or disagree?
I'm already like,
Yeah, you're just tired.
now I'm agitated. Like, I did.
He's
I
like, just
came
listening
in.
to you two bastards. I'm just like,
You
what?
guys riled me up.
Yeah, like we were talking about, how like Hulk got you fired up, and Thor like Gore the God Butcher. Like when you just said that, I was like, oh my god, it was so
Gore the God Butcher and
so
Jason Aaron's run
frustrating.
is one of the coolest Thor villains ever.
Yeah.
And he was played by Christian Bale, a phenomenal, very capable actor. And it was
Should have been
just
CGI.
God, it should have been, yeah, for
Should-
sure, because
should
it looked
have
nothing
been
like the Gore.
CGI.
I didn't like his design either. But even beyond that, there was no butchering. I think he killed one person. One
Was
person.
it like on a screen or something
It's
too?
insane.
Like
Yeah,
you couldn't even see it.
And the fact that we know somewhere in archives there's a musical number with Gore the God Butcher.
Stop it.
I swear.
Oh,
to
you
God.
haven't heard of that?
No,
They cut it
stop.
from the movie. That's a real
Bale
thing.
was actually
Yeah.
upset that it was cut because he loved it. That's a real
Christian
thing.
Bale
Christian
loved it.
Bale. Yeah. True story. Try to wrap your head around
You know,
that for a second.
you know that saying
I'll
where they
let
say, you don't think they don't think your shite stinks. Yeah, it was kind of
Yeah.
like that. Like, oh no, this is great.
Yeah.
Is it though? Is it great?
Jeff thought he was mad and frustrated until now.
Yeah, Christian Bale should have bailed
All
on
right,
that dance
all right,
number.
let's wrap this up though with a final question I'm going to pose to both of you, specifically for you, Jeff, because I think we all know Tim's answer because me and him talk about this almost at
Right.
nauseum all the time. But with all that said, and Marvel looking to put out fires and pivot and hopefully in an optimistic way make things right, hopefully potentially, do you think this is going to be the continued decline of the MCU, but the rise of the DC universe with James Gunn kicking off Superman Legacy very soon here, 2024, 2025. So do you think it's going to, me and Tim have talked about this so much, but every time this gets brought back up, we got to kind of rehash a little bit. And since you're here, I want to ask you. So everything that we know, do you think with Marvel going down and DC getting rebooted, reset under the eye of James Gunn, very capable producer, director, writer, that DC is going to rise? It's their time to shine. They're going to have the next 10 years, and the MCU is going to be where the DCU was for the past 10 years. What do you think?
I don't think MCU will get to the horribleness of DCEU.
Okay.
But I think James Gunn will do a good job. I'm excited to see what he does. I'm hopelessly optimistic.
I am too. I'm
So-
hopeful.
Or hopefully optimistic. I don't even know.
You're optimistic.
I'm optimistic, man. So I'd like to have faith in Gunn. So I'm going to.
That's where I'm at too, because I feel like it could go rogue, especially since he's bringing back
But
pieces from the DCU. But I'm like, I feel like it'd also be good though. Good.
I feel like getting rid of some of these characters that have already been wasn't necessary. But I don't know his big picture, so maybe it is necessary.
That's
but
the thing.
I just don't think it was.
He's even said it on Twitter. He's been very vocal on Twitter and Threads that it's like everyone's guessing all this stuff, but like they don't know what he has planned. Like he's making it sound that like just wait, and once I tell you, you'll be like, oh, that's why you're doing all this. So I'm gonna, since he's very much putting it that way, I will trust until proven wrong, and hopefully I'm like, oh, okay, he was working, he was cooking, and it makes sense. Hopefully that's where it goes. That's hopefully where it goes.
He was in the back room stewing it up.
He better be
But,
Gordon Ramsay cooking because
Freaking A.
there's a lot of work to be
No
done here, man.
joke.
You can't present just a cast and be like, ta-da! It's got to be like, okay, here's 10 years of work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
proof.
yeah.
Because there's a long way to go, guys. A long way.
Yeah, like I've said many times, you all know, they have work to do to win people back. They've put a lot of work in to sour the fan base.
I think the fact that it's a new thing though, this is a new toy,
And that's
it'll
fine,
probably bring more attention to
but
it.
all the more reason why they need to drop the DCEU stuff as quickly as possible.
I do agree
They've
with
been
that.
dragging that out, and the fan base could not have sent a clearer signal than what they have sent at the box office. You know what I'm saying? With the box office numbers being total disregard for these films. So it's like you can't send a more clear message than that. Like you don't like the nasty tweets, you don't like the mean messages and comments on YouTube or whatever, fine. We'll send it at the box office. That's what the fan base told you.
Yeah.
We don't want this anymore, right? And again, now we've kind of moved to this almost apathetic place where people are just like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
That's bad. So you got a lot of work to do to win people back and give people a reason to not just wait for streaming, but to put their butts in seats at theaters, right? Which is a big problem because now you've got all these strikes going on and stuff, and that's further like people just pushing. because you already had the pandemic stuff that set new habits for people where they're kind of gotten used to. I can just wait a couple of, of just literally 6 weeks, and then I can watch this at home. So they can be way more selective, and then things are much more expensive on top of that. So we've talked about all this a million times. Yeah. So they got a lot of work to do. So if they're gonna, it's like with Superman Legacy, you better come out with a haymaker.
Yeah.
You better come out and land right to the jaw and just blow people out of the water and lay out a roadmap and say, this is what we were waiting for. This is why we didn't want to tell you. And now this is where we're headed. Yeah. If they do that, I think DC really has a shot, because I really think Marvel, they're looking at probably a 5-6 year recovery period, in my opinion.
And stop doing 3-hour movies, DC. Legit. Do a 2-parter if you need to, man. Don't rush a 3-hour movie, which is like.
Well, I think going into 2024, it's going to be very interesting to see this pivot and what even happens with Marvel, because a lot of it's dependent on the trial with Majors, the success of I guess their Disney Plus shows and the Marvels, because it's looking like it's not going to be good, but maybe we might be shocked. I don't know, probably not, but who knows? What I'm saying is we got to wait. So we'll see how 2024 pans out, because we know we got Deadpool 3 coming out, and I've been saying forever, that could be one of their big saving graces, because if Deadpool 3 is really good, it could bring eyes back, because I'm very hopeful. I've gone so far to say several times that I think Deadpool 3 will be their biggest movie since Endgame. I think that is their best shot, since if any movie's going to do it that's lined up for recent years, it's Deadpool. So if Deadpool 3 doesn't do it, good luck, Marvel.
And good luck. And really good luck if it's bad.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
If they do it.
God.
Really do it. It'd be interesting to see the Swiftie effect on this.
Oh,
truly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Because if she is, she's rumored to be in the film as Dazzler.
Yeah.
And if she is, you're kind of joking, but that's not even really a joke.
No.
We've seen the NFL. That legitimately could be a factor.
At least they really want it to be.
No.
I just want it to stop.
But no, in all seriousness, though, for real, if she's in the film, that will actually probably bring a good portion of her fans over, which will translate into box office numbers. We've seen it with the freaking NFL, and she's not even a star in the movie. She's literally in a box office watching her boyfriend. So she's not even playing a character. Imagine if she's playing a character in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how long you want to go on this, but I have an idea of what's going to happen on top of that. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just saying this out loud.
Wrap us up with that. Wrap us up.
Wrap it up with this. It would be cool to see an alternate version of Wolverine dating Dazzler's Taylor Swift, but that alternate version is Travis Kelce. That's Wolverine. Come on now.
Could you imagine? The funny thing is, in a Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds, a multiverse, they could make that work. They could totally make that work.
And it's in Ryan Reynolds' wheelhouse to do something like that. Or he comes in as Sabretooth.
Dude, in a world where he goes back and he kills himself from the freaking Wolverine Origins movie, or makes fun of his Green Lantern self, or, goes back in time to off baby Hitler, he could totally make that work. Yeah. Oh, now I want that.
I know.
I want that.
I was watching the game. I was like, that would be kind of fun. I don't know, man.
And that's the rumors that got more, because Ryan Reynolds was in the box with Taylor Swift, and Hugh Jackman was also in the box with her. Coincidence? Maybe that was the negotiation.
There are no.
He's like, hey, Swift. I just need a 5-minute cameo. 5 minutes. Hey, 30 seconds. Just be at a concert doing your Dazzler thing. Shoot me, and then that's it. The Swifties will come.
They will come. 100%.
Oh, God, make it stop.
Hey, Case, that is all of our 2 cents on
I'm
this
not gonna
matter.
say anymore. We got to wrap it up.
Jeff, thanks for joining us again, man. This has been a lot of fun, and we can't wait to have you back in.
Which is going to be next week.
Yeah, next week.
Next
Jeff
week
will be back next week. And
There
make
you go.
sure you guys watch out for that episode. It is legit an amazing episode with an awesome story about his new secret sound collection.
Yes.
So you guys don't want to miss that one.
The Provenance.
The Provenance.
Provenance. I'll even wear the same stuff so you guys recognize me.
Yeah. Hey, me too.
I'll do it too. Yeah,
all right.
I'll do it too.
In any case, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.